Hello and a really warm welcome to this presentation from the Urban Penguin. My name, as always, is Andrew Mallett, and we're going to be taking a look at how we can use ChatGPT and, of course, the AI that sits behind that, but we're going to be able to take a look at how we can get a better understanding. Now, I'm not great on using tools such as Excel, but we all hear about pivot tables. So what exactly is a pivot table? Well, maybe if we've got AI to generate some sample data and then tell me how I can create and use a pivot table within it. Does that sound good? Come on. So here we are working in my Firefox browser, and you can see that I've gone through to ChatGPT. Other AI systems are available. I have the ChatGPT Plus subscription, so that gives me access to ChatGPT for lowercase o, and that will enable the system to be able to generate things like spreadsheets for me. But take a look at this. If I ask it to generate a spreadsheet with some sample data, but I just don't want the spreadsheet. I don't know how to create pivot tables. So I can say that I want to be able to use this to create a pivot table, but I'm also going to need instructions on how to generate the pivot table. We're going to be able to see that the task is actually relatively straightforward, and like anything, if we've got some sample data that isn't going to destroy anything to work with, it's going to give us the confidence to be able to practice and experiment. So you can see my very simple prompt, and let's give that the big enter key and see what the gods of AI can generate for me. So you can see it thinking about it. It's going to have to do some work generating the spreadsheet. That in itself is just done through calls to functions, but that's given me an access to download the spreadsheet, and it's given me the instructions on building the pivot table. So this is exactly what I want if I'm starting out. And believe me, I'm not an Excel expert, but you can see then that that has downloaded. I can go through and open that up and drag it across so we're able to see the glorious data that has been created. Let's just make it all a little bit bigger, drag some of those columns out, and there we go. The system then has created me a single worksheet spreadsheet. We've got date, product, region, sales, and units sold. But the data is all very static. There's not a lot that I can do with it. But we were told to move to the insert ribbon and to insert a pivot table. But we could also look here at a recommended pivot table. We'll sit with the instruction though and go through and create a pivot table. We can see the data from sheet 1, cell A1 through to E31. That's also then highlighted with the little green lines. So this is good. We want all of our data included. We can also see that when the spreadsheet creates the pivot table, it's placing it in a new worksheet. So that's probably the easiest. So we can click OK. And we've now moved to sheet 2. On the right hand side, we can see our pivot table fields, and we can choose then to add rows and columns and then values to that. So I could go through and maybe I want to work mainly with my region, so I can have different rows for each region. Maybe I can look at the sales for each of those regions, so I have a column, and then units sold. So perhaps this works for me, and we can see the layout that is being created on the left-hand side, the sheet 2 worksheet. If I don't like what's being created, I can just deselect everything, and then I might want to organize things more by the product. Again, I can then decide how I want to organize it. So I might have product and by region. And then I can go through and maybe add in the units sold. So we can see how each region has sold different amounts of products. I could also then go through and add additional columns in if we thought that the sales figures would be more important. I'm just going to clear that out for the moment. And now when we move into sheet 2, I can use the drop downs to be able to focus on what I want or change the sort order. If I move into the central areas, I might want to go through and say, look, I'm only interested in the central region, so I can see specific information for my central region. So this gives you an idea of how we can use AI to help our learning. Sure, this case was for spreadsheets, but you could use it to help you learn anything that you wanted. Take it for a drive today.
All that is left to say is thank you for watching. If you've enjoyed this, then you are probably sadder than I first thought. For more of this drivel, please subscribe, like and comment to @the Urban Penguin.